Epidemics were historically and are still among the biggest concerns for humanity. The term epidemic describes infectious diseases that are quickly spreading among people of a certain population. If the epidemic spreads to most or all parts of the world, the disease then becomes pandemic. A pandemic can therefore be described as an intercontinental, worldwide or global epidemic. As the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic shows, epidemics tend to now even spread faster in our modern globalized world. This list of epidemics ranks the deadliest epidemics in known human history by the estimated number of deaths these major global outbreaks caused. Just a heads up, each one of these epidemics have tragically claimed more than 1 million lives. 1. Black Death Plague. Infection through oriental rat fleas, which carried the Yersinia pestis bacteria, originated in Central Asia or East Asia. They then spread to the Crimean Peninsula following the Silk Road. From there on, sailors inadvertently brought rats with the infected fleas on ships to Italy. Thus, the bacteria then rapidly spread practically throughout all of Europe with only some notable exceptions, for example Milan and the Kingdom of Poland. 2. Spanish flu. The virus originated either in the USA or in China. Outbreak occurred in the last year of World War I, contributing to the rapid spread of the influenza virus. Infected American soldiers brought the virus to Europe and Liberia, Africa, from where it quickly spread throughout the entire world. Most nations involved in World War I censored any news about the pandemic in order to keep their troops' morale high. As a neutral party in the war, Spain was among the only affected countries to openly report about the influenza outbreak, hence the pandemic became globally known as the Spanish flu, even though it did not actually originate in Spain. 3. AIDS pandemic. Infection through sexual contact with an infected person, but virus can also spread through blood transfusions, hypodermic needles, breastfeeding into an unborn child of an infected mother during pregnancy. The virus originated in Central Africa, more precisely in what is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. For as of yet not completely clear reasons, the simian immunodeficiency virus, SIV, affecting chimpanzees, gorillas and other monkeys transferred into humans and mutated into HIV. The virus then quickly spread throughout sub-Saharan Africa. In the early 1970s, the virus arrived in the USA and from there on spread globally. 4. Plague of Justinian. Infection through oriental rat fleas, which carried the Yersinia pestis bacteria, originated in Central Asia or East Asia. The rats with the fleas eventually spread to Egypt. From there on, sailors inadvertently brought the rats with the infected fleas on ships to Constantinople. From there on, the bacteria then spread throughout the coasts of the Mediterranean Sea. Among the infected was Justinian I, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire at the time. The epidemic was hence named after him. Justinian I ended up surviving the disease. 5. Third Plague pandemic. Infection through from Central Asia, carrying infected fleas, brought the Yersinia pestis bacteria to the Yunnan province of China, where the epidemic started around 1855. The epidemic eventually spread to Hong Kong, back then a major trading post for the British Empire. From there on, merchants and sailors inadvertently spread the rats throughout most of the world with constant outbreaks on all continents. As a major trading partner, British-ruled India was especially hard hit by the pandemic as the bacteria spread especially fast throughout the Indian subcontinent. Tens of millions of Indians perished from the plague. The pandemic lasted more than 100 years until 1960, making it the longest pandemic in recorded history. 6. Coquelicli epidemic. The origin of the epidemic remains unknown. Some evidence points to the Spanish colonizers who conquered and settled what is now Mexico at the time. Newest DNA studies suggest that they may have inadvertently brought a rare European strain of the Salmonella enterica bacteria to the Americas and infected the native population. The usual Salmonella symptoms do not match the contemporary witness descriptions of the symptoms seen in the Coquelicli epidemic. The described symptoms were high fever alongside a black tongue, vertigo, dysentery, chest pains and severe bleeding from the nose, eyes and mouth. The origin of the epidemic therefore remains largely unproven. 7. Aztec smallpox epidemic. Infected humans spread the virus through close face-to-face contact by little droplets of bodily fluids which contain the virus. Spanish colonizers invaded the Aztec Empire in 1519 and in the process inadvertently spread smallpox among the indigenous populations. Unlike the Europeans, the native Aztecs never dealt with smallpox before and therefore had not built up any immunization against the virus. Beginning in May 1520 and lasting until the end of that year, the virus quickly spread throughout the Aztec lands. Even after the Aztec epidemic, the virus would then further spread throughout all of the Americas, killing millions of indigenous Americans until the year 1951, when the virus finally got eradicated. 8. Antonine Plague. The origin of the epidemic and the disease remain largely unknown. Based on the described symptoms of the infected, the epidemic was most likely caused by a measles or smallpox outbreak, which Roman soldiers, merchants or diplomats may have brought to Europe from China, where especially smallpox outbreaks were relatively common. Once the epidemic reached Rome, the most populated city in the world back then, it killed 1/3 of the city's entire population. The epidemic lasted for 15 years and spread to almost all parts of the Roman Empire. 9. Asian flu. Infected humans spread the virus to others by coughing and sneezing. The virus originated in China, where it may have transferred and mutated to humans from ducks. The virus quickly spread to neighboring Hong Kong and to Singapore by sea. The virus also reached Europe and the United States, where it claimed around 70,000 lives. The epidemic was controlled and eventually entirely stopped by the development of an effective vaccine in 1957. 10. Persian plague. The epidemic started in Baghdad in the winter of 1772. The rats with the infected fleas then quickly spread throughout the Persian Empire and especially along the Persian Gulf Coast, eventually reaching Bahrain. In the east, the bacteria reached as far as modern-day Mumbai, India. The epidemic didn't last long, but was extremely mortal with thousands of deaths being recorded per day at the peak of the outbreak. Only imposed quarantine measures in Persia managed to eventually contain the epidemic by the end of 1773. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the video, please like, comment and subscribe. Until the next time, goodbye.